By golly, here we are again, live as per the norm, Monday through Thursday, right here on Facebook. Hi, guys. Today is June the 23rd, 2025. How about that? It's July the 23rd. If I don't wake up, I'm going to lose another month. Part of getting old, I guess. But it's the 23rd of July, 2025. I got to change the format on that clock. It's killing me. Let's get back to The Darkening by Rob and Laura Petri. An excellent piece of work, citing an awful lot of secrets of the past. We're picking up on page 52, chapter 18. I've gotten several emails from guys who are following along with the book. We're going to do chapters 18 and 19 right now. Here we go. Chapter 18, The Minority Teacher Diploma Mill. Operation Raise Your Hand, and how they went hand in glove. See, the goal of Operation Raise Your Hand has been to produce school teachers fully committed to communism, not limited only to Negroes. Academic brainwashing soon became accessible to anyone, and I mean anybody, who was open to the communist mythos. Already, history had been rewritten by communist propagandists and then expertly woven into a dirty tapestry of lies and misinformation. Sucks, don't you think? Well, let's move along here. The ultimate goal had always been to win the hearts and the minds of our children, because our children grow up to be young adults, mature adults. Their success is necessary in order to eventually bend the will of a nation, because children, as I said, usually become adults, and adults generally run the country. Communists are closer to their goals now, more than ever before. In fact, their goal is in sight. The difference is what was initiated by Soviet Union, Soviet Moscow, was taken over by Beijing when Moscow collapsed in 1991. When the wall came down and the Soviets went bankrupt, well, China knows that nature abhors a vacuum, and they slipped right in. So over generations, college and university students have become dedicated to communists. They are the same ones who became little commies in primary school, carried the idea on to middle school, carried it through high school, now ready to roll. They're a full-fledged college commies. You understand? College kids today and adults today are already embarking on their pilgrimage to Marxist communism. The critical importance of Negro school teacher placement depended on the fact that school teachers have always been highly respected and even revered through the ages. Our young students often spend more time with their teachers than their parents. When a child goes through school, especially elementary school and college, he regards teachers and professors as role models. What better way is there to shape the minds of the young than through their respected and even revered teachers, their role models? Well, Operation Raise Your Hand proved an overwhelming success. However, along with the program's victories came a number of surprises. Not all bad, but definitely surprises. It seems that many single, non-Negro women found the communist dream highly attractive. It turned out that free money in the form of college grants, loans, scholarships was an irresistible incentive for young people who wanted to go to college. They just had to decide that they wanted to be teachers. This was especially true among the very poor and the more primitive kids looking for a way out of poverty. What better and more respectable position is there than a school teacher? All right, I understand teachers today suffer a real identity crisis, and in their insecurity, they insist that they are educators, not teachers. What the hell? Special programs were initiated back under Soviet Russia to bring in non-Negroes who had already embraced the communist utopian dream. The dream and heartfelt desire of the young people was to have a piece of the pie from the beautiful new world promised by communism. Thousands of young men and women swore allegiance to Moscow in return for tuition fees and the promise of a job on graduation. Many looked forward to universal equality promised by communism. The Soviets were dumbfounded at the speed and progress of Operation Raise Your Hand. A big part of their surprise was the acceleration of their original timetable in putting teachers into classrooms far more quickly than they had ever thought possible. It was time now to launch another program, one that worked hand in glove, one that would share space with Operation Raise Your Hand. This new program was named Operation Alma Mater. With the speed and power of a runaway freight train, their agenda advanced at breakneck speed. And it's a fact. The Soviets were pumping millions of dollars they could not afford to pay. But they were pumping it in because the only way to beat America, to whip Amerikansky, was to have them fracture and conquer from within. Well, here we go. Operation Alma Mater. Again, it ran concurrent with Operation Raise Your Hand. Negro teachers were assigned to positions across the country, from the smallest communities to the biggest cities. Almost all newly graduated school teachers in America were finding jobs right away, as a newly created education council, later the Department of Education, would start throwing money at it. Get those schools funded. They can't have enough of their own money. We must give them more. And while we're at it, let's give them some commie teachers. Negro-centric courses greatly accelerated the graduation and the accreditation rate for Negro baccalaureate and master's level teachers. There was a dramatic increase in the number of Negro doctoral graduates as well. Unilateral lowering of the bar allowed thousands of Negroes to obtain graduate level degrees with very surprisingly little effort, really. Standards had been chopped in half in order to get these folks through the college quickly, get them licensed, get them certified, and put them to work, get them into our schools. Negroes with more advanced degrees allowed even more unqualified Negroes to be shoehorned into administrative positions, positions within the ranks of public school, principals, vice principals, even school district superintendents. More and more Negro principal and executive jobs were filled at an alarming rate. These were positions under affirmative action. Yes, the ugly affirmative action. Thank you, Lyndon Johnson. Basically, it solidified and made legal everything the Soviets had been doing behind our backs. Oh, God. These were positions under affirmative action programs open only to Negroes. Hundreds, even thousands of positions had become Negro-centric, Negro-qualified, meaning that only Negroes need apply. The federal government was on board with state governments to finance widespread installation of Negro education administrators. Under President Jimmy Carter, the Department of Education was made formal. It was real. It now had funding. It was a department. It was this department that invested billions of dollars, back then billions was a lot of money, into creating Negro teaching and administrative programs and positions. Now under threat of federal funding cuts, every college in the nation was forced to cooperate. Universities and colleges nationwide had become addicted to federal funds, and they weren't about to give up that money. So, give me your Negroes. We'll put them in positions. These people were quickly inserted into the management of K-12 schools, as well as the very community colleges and universities that trained and brainwashed them in the first place. In the late 1960s, the nationwide Negro Diploma mill trebled its number of school teachers and administrators. From then until 1991, that number trebled again. This number continues to expand even today at a disproportionate rate, and hopefully we can put the brakes on it somehow with the current president's administration looking more at fairness, there's a thought, equality, oh my God, equal opportunity. Are you serious? The number continues to expand. Now, tomorrow's Thursday, last day of the week for me. We're going to go over chapter 20, how Operation Raise Your Hand was such a success, and how public education formally fell to the communists. Then we're going to go to chapter 21, the death rattle of the Soviet Union. Enter communist China. That's what we'll talk about tomorrow, folks. Right now, that's about it. Thanks for listening.